Okay, Doctor Who is finally back with the New Year's Day special Revolution of the Daleks. We'll talk about it after this. Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd, and in Revolution of the Daleks, we have something that is pretty much what we expected. I mean, we knew before the show started that the Daleks were going to be back in some kind of way, that they were going to have some dealings with the Prime Minister of Britain, which they did. We know that Captain Jack is going to be part of it, which he was. We knew that Graham and Ryan were going to be leaving at the end of the episode, which they did. And we also know that somehow or other the Doctor was going to be sprung from the Jadoon prison. We knew that there was going to be some way that they were going to overcome the Daleks, and there you have the show. So there's not really much to talk about plot-wise with this. We need to go a little deeper into some of the Easter eggs first, and then some thoughts about where the show has been going in the last 2 or 3 years. First of all, we bring back Jack Robertson. He is the stand-in for Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, industrialist type with some political ambition, you would think. And he has enough of a company or number of companies where he doesn't always know what's going on in all of them. That plays a part in this episode. We know from the Doctor's stay in the Jadoon prison that she is also locked up in different cells with a weeping angel, Oods, adipose, and some other creatures which we've met in the past. Also, we have the with Captain Jack coming in order to do his part in the episode. We find that they trade an old joke, which was something that David Tennant first said upon meeting him. Have you had work done? In which he responds, "You should talk." They do the same line here, and it's still funny. We also see a use of the square wave gun, which we've only seen used once in the library in the first River Song episode with David Tennant. And of course, the appearance of the Daleks themselves and being accepted by the Prime Minister is reminiscent of Churchill. That was done also, I believe, with David Tennant, and in a way that at first they seem to be something that can be a good force in wartime, in Churchill's time, and in this time in domestic security. And that is pulled pretty much straight out of that episode, it would seem. The only thing is that the details are a little different in how the Daleks go from being a benign helper to a menace. Mentions of Gwen Cooper and probably some other Easter eggs that we have not yet uncovered. But that basically is the gist of the show without giving away any of the details on how the Daleks are defeated. We know that they're going to be, and we move on from there. Interesting, we have Harriet Walker, who plays the Prime Minister, who was also Dasha in Killing Eve. My daughter used to say jokingly that there seems to be only 12 English actors, and you're going to find them in everything the BBC produces. And that's almost the case. One of the things that really bothered me about this was that when the Doctor rejoins the companions, it's been 10 months for them. And they are kind of down on her, especially Yaz, and saying, we've been 10 months without you. How can we go 10 months without you? And the Doctor never mentions at any point, and it's never brought up again. Captain Jack actually, talks about how she gets out and all this kind of stuff. But the fact of the matter is that she's been there decades. And she never tells anyone else that she's been there for decades while they've been moaning about 10 months. I think that it is something that is part of the problem, I think, with this incarnation of Doctor Who. And I don't fault the actors for this. What the trouble is with this episode, and for much of the Jodie Whittaker era, I believe, is a certain lack of enthusiasm, a lot more introspection. Now, it's not that we haven't seen this before. Certainly in David Tennant and Christopher Eccleston, there is regret at the destruction of Gallifrey. In the Peter Capaldi time, there was this concern of what kind of person he is. Am I a good man? He asked specifically in one of the early episodes, and it ran through the whole series of Peter Capaldi episodes. Yet, what we see here is something that's a little more deeply rooted. And while I don't have any problem with the idea of bringing out an internalism in characters, it seems that it clashes with the whole spirit of Doctor Who. And it was brought in kind of relief with John Barrowman's performance of Captain Jack, who comes in having lost people very close to him after having disasters of all sort. He still has a big smile on his face, and here we go again, like a playful child. And a lot of that has to do with Barrowman himself. We met him some years ago at a Comic-Con, and he is very much like his character, bigger than life, taller than you might expect, and has a personal assistant who is obviously long-suffering. She follows him around trying to be his gatekeeper, and he verbally pushes her aside and wants to interact with people. And that I understand why she was hired and why somebody like him could be mobbed by people, and you need a gatekeeper, but sometimes he would just rather that she not be there. And I find that kind of an interesting thing about his personal character, and it bleeds into his portrayance of Captain Jack. He's someone who appears to love life. He is someone who loves people. He's someone that can't wait for the next project to get going. And I think that's the problem with the rest of the characters. Chris Chibnall's big production before Doctor Who was Broadchurch. And even David Tennant in that is a rather grumpy type with a backstory that is troubling him. And it goes, of course, for all the rest of the characters. And it works in that because this is a murder mystery, and this is a town that has secrets, and this is all very dramatic. Whereas Doctor Who has always been not without its sources of drama, not without its sources of suspense, but always has been light and adventurous and enthusiastic. And unfortunately, I've never seen that enthusiasm out of the show. It doesn't mean I don't enjoy it. I do. But I miss the part of it where in one of the very early episodes of Christopher Eccleston, he's being arrested, and he has a big smile on his face. Oh boy, we're being arrested. This kind of thing is something that harkens back to some of the even very early Doctors. Tom Baker was the same way. Oh, you're arresting me. Well, let's go. Let's hurry. We've got things to do here. And I don't see that in this Doctor. And I don't see a problem with the actor as such, but just the overall characterization, the type of writing that wants to make this a heavier drama than it really ought to be. It's light entertainment, it's science fiction, it's supposed to be a fun ride, but unfortunately it's kind of a please stay with me because I will die if you don't. It was always just the Doctor was kind of bored and always liked to have somebody with him, or kind of lonely, but this Doctor is one who seems to hurt when people come and go. And it is unlike the way of previous Doctors. They all knew that they're going to outlive every companion they've ever had, that everything has an end to it. And while it's a little sad, well, we move on, we move forward. And I don't see that as much here. A couple of things we find here, of course, is that there are some setups for the oncoming season, which will only be about 8 episodes and won't start until everybody's vaccinated, is my guess. Moving forward, we know that a new companion is going to be had, a fairly well-known stand-up comedian in the UK. I've not heard of him before. I've seen his IMDb profile and have found him to be in movies that I have not seen, so I really can't say much about him or what kind of character he might play. But it looks like we will be with at least 2 companions in the next series, which, as we said, will only be 8 episodes this year due to the limitations of the COVID pandemic and other delays that have happened. In that time also, we think that there may be developing a new season of Torchwood with the mention of Gwen Cooper in this episode, and that Captain Jack is going to stay on Earth for some things he wants to do. This would be a good time. Chris Chibnall was a writer on Torchwood, likes it, likes John Barrowman. I think that it might be a possibility that they would put back together this show and put in a 5th season and see where it takes them. It was the most successful spinoff of Doctor Who that's ever been done, and that's a likelihood that we will see it come back in some way or other. So we're looking forward to news about that. Also, since the way that Ryan and Graham left, we think there is an opening for some kind of spinoff there as well. So we'll look and see what we see about that. But anyway, no matter how we get it, it's good to get Doctor Who back on the air, and we hope that you enjoyed it as well. We'd like to know in the comments what you think about it and what you think will come in the next 8 episodes. How are they going to deal with the Timeless Child? And, of course, don't forget to subscribe. As soon as we have anything interesting to talk about, we'll have another video, whether it be Star Trek, whether it be Star Wars, whether it be some other science fiction. We will be doing weekly videos at least, so why not subscribe and click the bell so you know when the next thing is coming your way. And until next time, don't go far.